Across America, a disturbing trend is emerging. Half-built homes, empty lots, and projects abandoned mid-construction. In 2025, home builders are walking away, not from small renovations, but from entire neighborhoods. The reasons are clear: skyrocketing costs, disappearing demand, and a housing market too unstable to finish what it started. Today, we take you inside 10 U.S. cities where construction has stopped completely, where developers broke ground in 2021 and left ghost towns behind by 2025. If you're a homebuyer, an investor, or simply curious about where America's housing engine is stalling, stay with us until the end. And remember to subscribe to Discover the Nation for cinematic insights into every chapter of the American housing story. Let's begin.
Number 10. Cape Coral, Florida. Cape Coral was once one of Florida's brightest housing success stories, a canal-filled paradise where families, retirees, and investors could enjoy waterfront living without Miami's sky-high prices. Between 2020 and 2022, demand surged. According to Redfin and Zillow data, median home values jumped more than 70%, reaching over $420,000 at their peak. Builders could not pour foundations fast enough. By 2025, that dream has dimmed. Across Lee County, listings have nearly doubled in a year, and median sale prices are down more than 12%. Redfin reports that nearly 1 in 4 homes now sells below its list price, a sharp contrast to 2021's bidding wars. The problem runs deeper than oversupply. Cape Coral's layout, with hundreds of miles of canals and low-lying neighborhoods, makes it one of the most flood-prone markets in the country. New flood zone maps after Hurricane Ian forced many homes into higher-risk tiers, sending insurance premiums soaring. CoreLogic estimates typical homeowners in Southwest Florida now pay triple what they did 5 years ago. Some families spend up to $15,000 annually on insurance alone. That burden has crushed demand. Retirees on fixed incomes are backing out of deals, and younger families are heading inland. Even cash buyers have grown cautious, knowing that rising sea levels and recurring storms threaten long-term value. Builders who once broke ground on entire neighborhoods are now pausing projects or offering steep discounts to move inventory. Environmental pressures make things worse. Repeated red tide outbreaks along the Gulf Coast have cut into tourism revenue, while delayed infrastructure upgrades are straining city budgets and driving up local fees. Cape Coral still has beauty, sunshine, and promise, but when insurance costs rival mortgage payments and confidence slips away, even paradise must face reality. In 2025, Cape Coral's housing boom has turned into a slow correction, reminding America that growth built on speculation and risk never stays afloat for long.
Number 9. Austin, Texas. Not long ago, Austin was the crown jewel of America's housing boom, a tech-powered city where startups, musicians, and new money collided in one unstoppable wave. Between 2020 and 2022, the metro's median home price surged nearly 70%, peaking above $575,000 according to Zillow and Redfin. Homes sold within days, often tens of thousands over asking. By 2025, that rise has reversed. Inventory across the Austin metro has jumped more than 60% year over year. Builders who once struggled to meet demand are now canceling projects mid-frame. In suburbs like Leander, Kyle, and Manor, construction has slowed dramatically. Redfin reports that nearly 1 in 3 new home contracts in 2024 were canceled before closing, signaling that both buyers and developers have lost confidence. The reasons are clear. Tech layoffs have weakened Austin's white-collar workforce, mortgage rates above 7% have priced out thousands, and an oversupply of new homes has left the market struggling to recover. Developers such as D.R. Horton and Lennar have paused projects, facing the reality of high costs and weak demand. Some outer neighborhoods now resemble ghost grids, with paved roads, empty lots, and fading future development signs. Affordability, once Austin's greatest strength, has vanished. The median income hovers near $85,000, but monthly payments on a typical home now consume over 40% of that. Even rental prices, once soaring, are slipping as vacancies rise and landlords compete for tenants. Realtor.com ranks Austin among the least affordable housing markets in the nation, a sharp contrast to its thriving image just years ago. The city still pulses with energy and creativity, but its housing market tells a quieter story. In 2025, the unfinished frames on Austin's edges stand as proof that even the boldest boom can lose its rhythm when growth outruns reality.
Number 8. Reno, Nevada. For years, Reno was the comeback story of the American West, a former casino town reborn as a center for technology and logistics. When Tesla announced its Gigafactory outside Sparks, the city became one of the fastest-growing housing markets in the nation. Between 2020 and 2022, home prices in the Reno and Sparks metro area jumped nearly 60%, according to Redfin and Zillow data. Builders poured into the desert, approving thousands of homes across Spanish Springs, South Reno, and DeMont Ranch. By 2025, that desert boom has ground to a halt. Rising interest rates, construction inflation, and growing concerns over water supply have created a severe slowdown. Median sale prices are down about 10% year over year. Inventory has doubled, and new home cancellations are surging. Realtor.com reports that Reno now ranks among the top Western cities for price cuts and delayed completions. On the ground, the change is unmistakable. Subdivisions that once promised luxury desert living now sit half-built, their wooden frames bleaching in the Nevada sun. Streets end abruptly in empty lots, and sales offices gather dust. Locals call them ghost neighborhoods, silent symbols of a market that grew too fast. Developers blame volatility and rising costs, but the deeper issue is vanishing demand. The remote work migration that once brought Californians east has slowed sharply. Zillow data shows buyer searches from the Bay Area down nearly 45% since 2021. With fewer cash buyers and stricter lending standards, builders no longer see the risk as worth taking. Water scarcity adds to the strain. Record droughts in the Truckee River Basin have raised major sustainability concerns. City officials now require stricter permits and environmental assurances, pushing up costs even further. Reno still offers mountain views, a growing art scene, and access to Lake Tahoe, but the easy money era is gone. The cranes are quiet, and optimism has faded into realism. In 2025, Reno stands as a warning for every booming city in America. When speculation outpaces stability, even a desert built on dreams can fall silent. Number 7. Raleigh, North Carolina. Raleigh was once the shining symbol of the post-pandemic migration boom. Between 2020 and 2022, families from New York, California, and Washington flooded into the Research Triangle, drawn by affordable homes, stable jobs, and that unmistakable Southern charm. According to Zillow, Raleigh's median home price jumped nearly 55% in just 2 years, peaking around $475,000. Builders scrambled to keep up as entire neighborhoods in Fuquay-Varina, Wendell, and Clayton seemed to appear overnight. But in 2025, the story has changed. The cranes have slowed, the framing crews are gone, and the once relentless pace of construction has come to a crawl. Redfin data shows active listings up more than 80% year over year, while pending sales have dropped by nearly a third. Homes that once sold in a weekend now sit for months, and new developments meant to fuel Raleigh's next growth phase are now on hold. Affordability has disappeared. Mortgage rates above 7% have priced out most first-time buyers. CoreLogic data shows that more than 40% of renters can no longer qualify for a starter home in the region. Builders who once relied on constant demand are now stuck with unsold inventory, pulling permits and pausing projects rather than risk adding to the surplus. Meanwhile, costs keep climbing. Lumber and labor remain expensive, and financing for new developments has tightened. Even the Research Triangle's strong tech and biotech job base has not been enough to counter the slowdown. Wage growth has flattened, and the wave of remote workers who once fueled the boom has slowed to a trickle. Drive through Raleigh's new subdivisions today, and you will see the shift clearly. Empty model homes, overgrown lots, and fading for sale signs stretch along quiet streets. Developers are offering closing cost credits, mortgage buy-downs, and luxury upgrades, but buyers are hesitant. Raleigh's story is not one of collapse, but of correction. The city still has all the right ingredients for long-term success, but its housing market is learning a difficult truth. Even the fastest-growing cities cannot outrun the limits of affordability.
Number 6. Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix was once the poster child of the Sunbelt boom, known for endless sunshine, affordable housing, and room to grow. Between 2020 and 2022, the metro added nearly 200,000 residents, and home builders rushed to meet demand. According to Redfin, more than 60,000 housing units were in development by late 2022, making Phoenix one of the most overbuilt metros in the nation. Prices climbed above $475,000, up nearly 70% from pre-pandemic levels. But by 2025, that boom has turned into a landscape of half-finished dreams. Across suburbs like Goodyear, Buckeye, and Queen Creek, construction sites sit quiet. Heavy equipment is gone, foundations lie exposed, and framed homes are weathering in the desert sun. Builders have fenced off projects indefinitely, citing rising costs and fading demand. Investor withdrawal has deepened the crisis. During the boom, corporate landlords and short-term rental buyers drove much of the demand, but as interest rates rose and rents fell, those investors vanished. Zillow data shows investor purchases down nearly 45% from their 2022 peak. With demand collapsing, many builders now face holding costs they cannot sustain and are walking away. Water scarcity has added another obstacle. Arizona's drought has reached critical levels, and the state has paused new subdivision approvals in parts of Maricopa County due to groundwater concerns. Combined with record heat and energy strain, the risks of large-scale expansion have become too great for many developers to justify. Redfin reports home values down about 10% from their highs, while new home cancellations have more than doubled. Families who bought early now face barren lots and unfinished streets, unsure if their neighborhoods will ever be completed. Phoenix still has economic strength and natural beauty, but its housing market has become a cautionary tale. In 2025, the desert silence tells a clear story. The city that rose fastest during the boom is now learning how quickly the sun can set on unsustainable growth.
Number 5. Boise, Idaho. Boise was once the golden child of America's remote work revolution, a city that seemed to master the balance of beauty, opportunity, and affordability. Between 2020 and 2022, it became one of the fastest-growing housing markets in the country. According to Redfin, home prices soared more than 60% in just 2 years as buyers from California, Washington, and Oregon poured into the Treasure Valley searching for space and value. Builders could not keep up. Entire suburbs like Meridian, Kuna, and Nampa turned into construction zones. Cranes filled the skyline, farmland became subdivisions, and Boise earned the nickname Zoomtown, USA. But that rise was built on fragile ground, speculation, cheap lending, and pandemic migration that was never meant to last. By 2025, the correction has arrived. Median sale prices have fallen nearly 20% from their peak. Inventory has doubled, and Redfin data shows new listings now linger on the market 3 times longer than they did in 2022. Projects that once promised big returns are now bleeding losses. In parts of Kuna and Star, entire neighborhoods sit frozen mid-frame. Streets end abruptly at fenced-off lots, and half-finished foundations bake under the Idaho sun. Buyers who placed deposits in 2022 are receiving refunds or, in some cases, silence. The demand collapse is rooted in affordability. Local wages have not kept pace with inflated prices from the boom. Zillow estimates that the average mortgage payment now eats up more than 40% of the median household income, a figure that makes homeownership nearly unreachable. Developers are now filing permits at the lowest rate in a decade. Major builders are exiting the market, shifting toward metros with stronger growth. Local contractors who once built 50 homes a year now struggle to start 5. Boise still offers scenic beauty, community, and charm, but the frenzy is gone. The once booming Zoomtown miracle has become a slow unwind. And in 2025, the hum of construction has been replaced by quiet streets and still skies. A calm that signals a market finally coming back to earth.
Number 4. Denver, Colorado. For years, Denver stood as the shining symbol of the new American West. Vibrant, youthful, and full of promise. Between 2015 and 2022, it became one of the nation's top destinations for migration and new housing. Entire communities rose across Highlands Ranch, Aurora, and Commerce City, fueled by newcomers drawn to mountain views and modern living. But by 2025, that momentum has stalled. What was once a non-stop construction zone now feels eerily still. Zillow reports Denver's housing inventory has surged nearly 70% since 2023, while pending home sales have fallen to their lowest level in 10 years. The city's median home price, which once approached $600,000, has dropped about 12% year over year, and the decline continues. Developers cite higher costs and labor shortages, but locals see the real issue. Buyers have disappeared. Mortgage rates above 7% have crushed affordability, and the average household now needs more than $120,000 a year to afford a typical home. Wages, however, have barely moved, leaving thousands priced out. Construction across the Front Range has slowed sharply. Projects that once defined Denver's future, from luxury condos and downtown townhomes to sprawling suburban builds, now sit quiet. Drive through these developments and you will see grass reclaiming sidewalks and empty lots where families were meant to live. Even the rental market is softening. Vacancy rates are rising as landlords cut prices to attract tenants. Builders who counted on endless population growth are now burdened with unsustainable debt. Realtor.com reports that nearly 1 in 5 Denver area developers has postponed or canceled major projects this year. Denver still shines with its mountain access, job diversity, and thriving culture, but housing confidence is fractured. The pandemic-era boom that once made it a star of national growth has faded into a cautious reset. In 2025, the skyline still glows against the Rockies, but below, the silence of unfinished neighborhoods tells a simple truth. Even the mile-high city cannot rise forever without balance.
Number 3. San Antonio, Texas. San Antonio was once one of Texas's fastest-growing cities, a place where history met opportunity and developers saw endless potential. Between 2020 and 2022, it ranked among the top 5 U.S. metros for new housing starts, according to the National Association of Homebuilders. Suburbs such as Cibolo, Schertz, and New Braunfels flourished with new construction. Thousands of lots were cleared, permits filed, and foundations poured as optimism spread across Bexar County. By 2025, that momentum has cooled. Drive through those same neighborhoods today, and the slowdown is unmistakable. Rows of empty slabs sit without walls. Wooden frames stand weathered under the Texas sun. And faded "coming soon" signs mark unfinished dreams. Redfin reports a 30% drop in new home sales from last year. Builders that expanded too quickly during the pandemic are now scaling back, leaving half-completed projects scattered across the region. Many blame higher interest costs, and with rates still above 7%, carrying unsold inventory has become too expensive. But the real issue is affordability. San Antonio's reputation as a cheaper alternative to Austin or Houston is fading fast. Median home prices jumped nearly 50% during the pandemic, while local wages rose only 12%. That gap has priced out many middle-class buyers. Material and labor costs remain high, driving up construction expenses and forcing developers to abandon projects that no longer make financial sense. Some have walked away entirely, accepting major losses. The slowdown is rippling through the local economy as electricians, plumbers, and contractors report fewer projects and shrinking profits. Yet San Antonio's broader economy remains stable, supported by strong sectors like healthcare, manufacturing, and the military. The housing market is not collapsing, but catching its breath. For now, the half-built homes and quiet subdivisions tell the story. San Antonio's once relentless growth has paused, offering a reminder that even Texas's most resilient markets must eventually face the limits of affordability and overexpansion.
Number 2. Bakersfield, California. For decades, Bakersfield stood as California's last affordable frontier, a city that promised attainable homeownership while the rest of the state priced ordinary families out. It became a haven for those leaving Los Angeles and the Bay Area in search of space and stability, and developers rushed to meet the rising demand. Between 2019 and 2022, housing permits jumped nearly 40%, turning farmland into sprawling subdivisions across southwest Bakersfield, Rosedale, and the Kern River corridor. By 2025, that promise is fading. Soaring construction costs, tighter credit, and weakening demand have slowed Bakersfield's housing boom to a crawl.
Drive through the new neighborhoods and the signs are clear. Streets are half paved, machinery sits idle, and sales offices stand empty with fading, temporarily closed signs. Redfin data shows home prices down 9% from last year, while active listings have surged nearly 60%. Builders who once guaranteed quick move-in homes are now delaying projects or canceling them altogether. The numbers no longer work. Bakersfield's hallmark affordability has eroded faster than anyone expected. Insurance premiums have spiked after repeated wildfires across Central California, and property taxes have climbed due to inflated pandemic valuations. Combined with high mortgage rates, the typical household now spends over 45% of its income on housing, a record for the region. The local economy, long tied to agriculture and energy, is under pressure. Water shortages are driving up farm costs, and tighter environmental rules are squeezing oil production. As a result, both buyers and lenders are growing cautious. Even large investors who once bought entire blocks of rental homes are now pulling back, leaving behind more inventory and uncertainty. Bakersfield's story is not one of collapse, but of correction. The city remains livable, family-oriented, and more affordable than most of California, yet its rapid growth has clearly ended. What remains are quiet cul-de-sacs and half-built homes, a reminder that even the most affordable markets can falter when growth runs faster than reality.
Number 1. Las Vegas, Nevada. Las Vegas has always been a city built on risk, a place where fortunes rise and fall overnight. Its skyline stands as a symbol of ambition, reinvention, and America's relentless pursuit of more. But in 2025, the gamble that once fueled Las Vegas's housing boom has turned against it. The cards are on the table, and this time the house is losing. During the pandemic housing frenzy, Las Vegas became one of the hottest markets in the nation. Between 2020 and 2022, the median home price rose more than 50%, according to Redfin, peaking near $450,000. Developers rushed to build across the valley, from North Las Vegas to Henderson and Summerlin, driven by cheap financing and optimism that the city's growth would never slow. By 2025, that belief has fallen apart. Construction sites that once buzzed with workers now sit silent and fenced off. Builders are defaulting on land deals, canceling contracts, and abandoning projects midway. Major developers, including Lennar and D.R. Horton, have paused construction, calling costs unmanageable and demand uncertain. Mortgage rates near 7% have pushed ownership out of reach for many. Zillow data shows monthly mortgage payments up 85% since 2019. Energy and utility costs have climbed nearly 20% since 2023, tightening family budgets. Insurance premiums are also soaring as the Southwest faces record heat, drought, and fire risks. Tourism has returned, hotel rooms are full, and the Strip is alive again, but that rebound has not reached the housing market. Many hospitality workers cannot afford to buy, while investors who once poured money into Las Vegas are pulling back. Across North Las Vegas, half-built subdivisions line empty streets. Model homes are locked, sales offices are dark, and developers are cutting their losses rather than gamble on a weak recovery. Las Vegas still shines against the desert sky, but beneath that glow lies a reckoning. The city that once symbolized limitless ambition is now learning that even in a city built on risk, gravity always wins.
These 10 cities reveal something deeper. The housing crash of 2025 isn't just about prices, it's about unfinished promises. Empty lots, broken contracts, families left in limbo. This is what happens when a housing boom burns too hot and reality sets in. Subscribe to Discover the Nation for more powerful breakdowns of where the American housing market is heading next, because this story isn't over, it's just getting started.